All right, so everyone, this lesson right here is about finishing stages. You can ink it with a Sharpie marker, make everything nice and visible, and then add color. You could do watercolor. You could do a combination of watercolor, let it dry, and then tighten it up with color pencil. Or you could Sharpie over dried watercolor. You could also do acrylic paint. That takes a little bit longer, and you can Sharpie with that as well. You can use color pencil. You could even do a plain, regular pencil shaded drawing. But turning it in as just a line drawing like this, or even if I Sharpied this and turned it in as just a Sharpie line drawing, would not be considered good production quality and craftsmanship. It would not be fully finished, okay? All right, so what I want to do here is I'm going to use some color pencil, and I'm going to make this box a red box, okay? But if I just color the whole thing red, it's not going to look like a three-dimensional box anymore. The reason we see 3 dimensions when we look at a box, such as this one in the video here, is light and shadow. So do you guys all see this line right here? It's not actually a line at all. This side of the edge is dark, and this side of the edge is light. And where the light and the dark meet, it creates an edge that our brain interprets as a line, okay? So we need to understand that that's how we see things. So now, when I'm addressing this box right here, I'll zoom in on it. I'm not just going to color it, I'm going to simulate light and shadow. So, for example, I could have the light coming from the upper right. I could have it coming from the upper left. Maybe the sun is rising, so the light's sort of coming at me. Or maybe the light's coming from our direction. That will determine what I do. I'm going to make this a red box. So my light will be coming from the upper right, okay? Would you all agree that that means this side of the box will be brighter and this side will be darker if the light is coming from this direction? Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and color or shade this side the lighter tone of red. I'm trying to do it neatly. And notice I am going over this line a little bit because that's my shadow side and I know it's going to be cleaned up. But I am trying to be neat along these edges. So starting at the edges and then coloring inward from the edges is the trick. It's really difficult to be neat if you're coloring in the middle and then trying to color out to the edge, out to a line. It's easier to start at the line. Now you see how my coloring is like going this way and then that way? If I float over all of it at a different angle, it kind of blends it all. See how that just got nice looking? Okay, so now this is my dark side, and this corner is going to be the edge. So I'm going to use a ruler here. You could do it free-handed, but what I'll do is reestablish this edge. And that's how dark my shadow is going to be. So I'm going to now start at the line and then pull into the shadow side. So look what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make the line look like it's part of the shadow, not next to the shadow. The only exception here would be if I had a Sharpie line that's like solid black. I wouldn't be able to pull that off, right? But that would still be okay. So do you see how like that no longer looks like a line? It looks like an edge between dark and light. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Now I can neatly do the rest of the box like this. And you can learn to use your ruler like this. See how fast I can go when I hold the ruler there as like a guardrail? So get that going. And then when I hold the ruler there as a guardrail, I can kind of go fast. See, it protects me from going outside the line. And then I'll pull in from it. That helps too. So trying to make this area look nice, so it looks a little splotchy, so I'll just float over all of it in a single direction here, switching things up to blend and smooth. Okay, so that now, when I zoom out, you get a good context. There's a little bit I missed right there. That looks like a 3D red box, right? So we have light and we have shadow. Now you can also add cast shadow depending on what color your surface, your ground surface is. If I had like a green grass, maybe my cast shadow right here would be like a darker shadowy green, okay? And the recommendation there would be try to remain kind of horizontal when you draw cast shadows. I don't want to do cast shadow up and down. I want to try to stay horizontal. Let's move to this box. I'm going to make this box an orange box, but look, this box has 3 sides to it. And my light is coming from the upper right. So that means the top of my box would be the brightest. This side would be the second brightest. And then this side would be more in shadow, okay? So I'm going to just gently put a light tone of color up there quickly. And I can do that part fast because I know these are going to be darker than that. So if I go over the line, I'll be able to clean them up. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to reestablish this edge here, like a good solid line. And then I'm going to make that solid line become the shadow. See, so this is the medium. Orange is a pretty light color. So solid orange is kind of my medium tone in this case. Any ideas on what I could do over here though? If I'm pressing all the way hard with the orange, what will I do over there? Mix it with a different color. That's a great idea. In this case, I'm going to use some brown. Sometimes brown can be thought of as like a dark orange. So I'm going to grab my brown here, reestablish this edge, reestablish this edge with my brown, and I know that that's going to be, made a little mistake there, but I'll just have to move on. There we go. This is going to be my shadow side. Now, is anybody noticing a problem, though, with my brown? Yeah, it kind of doesn't look orange, does it? So it's definitely good for shadow, but, yep, it's not good for orange. So what was that? What'd you say I could just do? Mix it, right? Okay, so let me just get this orange let me get the brown done. And then a good way, we say mix, but you could think of it as tinting. So this is good for shadow in terms of light and dark, but it's kind of a sore thumb. So I could then grab my orange, float my orange over the top and orangify this brown. I'm tinting it, I'm mixing it. You could think of it as different ways. But could I tint a brown with red? Could I tint it with green? Could I tint it with blue? Just depending on what I need? Absolutely, right? Okay, so now that brown looks like more of a natural orange shadow color, with the exception of my little mistake right there, right? Okay, now the same is true if I'm just doing normal pencil shading, okay? So I have this regular pencil. The top would be bright. I could leave it white if it's my brightest. This line here will become, maybe I'll treat it like a medium gray. Look how I'm making the line part of the shading, right? I don't want to shade next to a line. I'm trying to get the line to be one with the shading. I'm going to darken this edge so I don't lose track of it, because I know it's going to be darker over there. I'm in this mode of trying to do this fast and nice at the same time, and that's not a good position to be. Trying to do it fast and nice at the same time is not always ideal. Okay, so I've got that. Now this looks a little messy, so I can float over all that together at a different angle, and it kind of unifies all those shading strokes together like that. Now I'm going to reestablish this edge, and I'll treat this shadow as kind of almost black. So this is what it might look like if you were doing a pencil shaded project. I don't actually recommend doing pencil and color pencil together like this. If I wanted this to be a gray box, I would probably use a gray color pencil to do it, not a regular pencil, if the rest of the picture is in color pencil. Focus that up a little bit. There we go. All right. How about this box up here? Let's talk about a way to not do it, right? What do we want to actually avoid? If I just take this blue and I color the whole thing blue, you might be like, Mr. Hay, I colored my box blue. Doesn't that look nice? But what's the problem here? Anybody know what the problem is with this?
Oh, it's all the same color, but it doesn't really look 3D.
Yeah, it's all the same shade and it doesn't look 3D. That's good. So it's not paying attention to any sense of light and shadow. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, and it keeps going blurry on me, doesn't it? There we go. What I'm going to do here is solve this problem, okay? So I'll grab my ruler and I'll reestablish these edges that I have lost. And remember, they're using the vanishing points, all that, right? And this is going to be the brightest. Down here will be the darkest, and this will be in between. So I could just right away drop in my full hand pressure here. Make these lines part all the way to the corner there. There we go. Part of the shading. And that helps. And then this side over here, off of this line, will be darker. Anybody notice a problem I'm having right now? We're talking about right in here. There's not enough of an edge there. It's kind of getting blurred, right? So I've already pressed hard with the blue, so maybe I need to grab a brown or a black or something, reestablish this edge, and then I'm going to bring in another color. Could I also maybe do this with purple or something else that's just a little bit darker, or maybe a navy blue? Okay. All right, so that box is fixed, and this thing's starting to look pretty cool, all right? The last couple things I want to share with you would be about the sky and the ground. First of all, you can make your sky any color you want to, okay? I'll go blue, but it could be an orange sky, it could be a red sky or a purple sky, whatever you like. But the key is, whatever color you make your sky at the top, that would be kind of thought of as your normal sky color, whatever you want that color to be. But the trick is to make it fade lighter as you go down, okay? If I color the whole sky the same shade of blue, it's not going to look realistic. But if I make the sky get lighter as I go down, it's going to look more like a 3D sky, like that, right? So if I did this across the whole thing, it would look like a nice clear blue sky. What if you have clouds in the sky and things like that? Clouds at the top of the paper, those would be kind of bigger and fuller, maybe go off the paper. And then as you go downward toward the horizon line, you would make those clouds begin to get smaller, thinner, and closer together off in the distance, right? So I just sort of drew all these clouds, and as I get closer to the horizon line, I'm making these clouds get smaller, thinner, and closer together. And these clouds look like they're off in the distance. These clouds look like they're closer to being more above our heads, closer to us. Now, when it comes to the ground, you can treat it in different ways. Here I have a green. So I would start at my horizon line, and there's a couple ways you could do this. You could start dark, right, and kind of get lighter as you come forward, almost like the sky. And that contrast of the light sky against your ground is what helps us see the horizon off in the distance, okay? But another way to go is you could make it duller farther away, and then you could press harder with more vibrancy as you get closer to the foreground, right? So if I was using yellow-green here, I could start pressing, like when I get down here, I could be pressing really hard and making it really rich looking. And then further away, it would look duller and more faded and so forth, okay? So those are just some things to consider, whether you're doing an interior space or an outside space. You want to think about how is the light source interacting with your forms and your objects, and then try to show that accordingly, okay?